Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Ravens Call. I'm your host, Tyler Cameron. I'm going to keep saying this every episode pretty much, but, if you don't know what this podcast is about, I have an intro video explaining the podcast, or if you want to jump in on any type of episodes, there should be descriptions, kind of illustrating what I'm talking about as well. These podcasts are available on Spotify, YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts, so go check those out. You can find links to all those in each of the streaming services or look up the Ravens Call podcast on Instagram. On that note, hope everyone is having a great day and ready to listen to some exciting NFL and Baltimore Ravens news. All right, first up on the agenda, you already know, is the NFL. We had some interesting and very eventful news stories come out. A lot of things I didn't expect, one of which was the federal judge overturned that verdict I talked about earlier in the Sunday Ticket lawsuit, saying that the testimonies of the two were flawed in what they perceived to be correct. And so this has happened before. In 2017, they dismissed the lawsuit and it was ruled for the NFL. But they ended up having something go on 2 years later with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals reinstating the case. So this is likely again to happen, but I was very shocked to see that this was happening. I thought it was clear cut and dry, but it seems that the NFL has kind of weaseled its way into winning the case over again. So it's going to be up for grabs on what happens next. I would like to see, what caused the case to kind of be rewarded to the NFL, or if someone's evidence was a little flawed on that matter, because I love Sunday Ticket, I love Red Zone, love all those kind of things, but pricing for the customers is something that is very important to me as a customer. I don't want to pay a lot of money to watch games that should relatively be a lot cheaper than that. My wife loves to watch the Broncos games. She wishes there was just a singular service to where she could just watch the Bronco games, but that's not possible. I think that's a very good idea. But again, the NFL's trying to make money, so you have to buy all the games because they'd probably have to bring down the price if you're just watching one specific team. So I think that's why they're not doing that. But it is something to watch out for. Hopefully they consider that in the future. But in the case of this news story, the NFL was granted, and they overturned the verdict of $4.7 billion for the NFL. That's a lot of money. I mean, granted, that's a lot of money for anyone, but for as a business, especially the NFL, that is very little. It's something to be looking forward to as we start to get into the season, and something that probably will continuously go on during the season, because this is something that I don't think will be going away until there's a huge final verdict of a win for the NFL or win for Sunday Ticket. So that is what is going on with that case. Also, before I forget, football is finally back. And what I mean by that is we just had the Hall of Fame game. I didn't watch it, of course. I knew that some of the starters weren't playing, which I was very shocked to see Caleb Williams not play in preseason. I think that he needs all the reps he can get, because the only quarterback I've really seen or heard that haven't been struggling is Penix from Atlanta and Bo Nix from Denver. Obviously, Penix is going to be sitting backup, but it's nice to see, for the Falcons, it's paying off for them. It was a ballsy pick on their part. Bo Nix, I thought, was great for the Broncos, and hoping he does really well. But these preseason games are made for people that are just starting out in the league, need to see the speed, because you can see the speed all the time in training camp, whatever, but no one's going that hard. This is your chance to start to get a feel for your offense, start to get a feel for those couple drives. I know you got 4 weeks to play this, but every game counts, because you do not want to go into week 1 and get demolished by the team you play because you are not prepared. So, but that Thursday was the start of football. We have football coming here in the next few weeks, and then we have a huge star-studded week of the first week of football. I think we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of games, which to me is amazing. I'll take that any day of the week because, I know my Ravens team is going to be playing week 1 against Chiefs, so that's going to be a good start to the season, just in any NFL term. So very excited. Just wanted to talk about and let you all know that football is back, baby. Preseason's here. It means we're getting even closer to the start of the season. And then we have, I think it's 6 months of football. I've been watching the Olympics. I've been seeing Scott Hansen, who is if you guys don't know, Scott Hansen is the Red Zone announcer for the network for where I watch football. I watch it on Red Zone. I can't watch singular games of the Ravens because I want them to be perfect, but I have a lot of fantasy football that goes along, and it's easier to see who's in the red zone, who's not, for defensive purposes, for specific player purposes. So very excited to see that, Scott Hansen is still there doing really well for the Olympics, and then we're going to see him here soon in football. So the next topic is a topic we actually talked about last episode, which as soon as I posted it, they were on it. They knew I was posting it, and they were like, let's get this deal done. And what I'm talking about is Jordan Love gets his contract done. And I had mixed feelings on this. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think he needed a contract extension just to ease the Packers in his mind. But for him to be getting paid 4-year, $220 million, $75 million signing bonus, this record deal, obviously. That is just, they're making a huge bet on themselves at that 25-year-old QB. You're up there with Trevor Lawrence. You're getting very close to Joe Burrow kind of contract. And for someone who has had, this is kind of his first season. Joe Burrow didn't get that contract from one great year. He's had a couple great years. He got a little bit injured in there. Trevor Lawrence has had a couple good years at quarterback, but Jordan Love has had one good year, and he is now up top, one of the highest paid quarterbacks. One of, obviously. It's a huge gamble for Green Bay. I don't think it's going to be that big in my personal opinion because he did play well. You have surrounded him with good players. He has a great young receiving core. And I think Josh Jacobs really needed a breather from the Raiders, so that's going to help them in the rushing game. So very excited to see what happens with that, if he lives up to his contract or he ends up, being another bust. If I had to put money on it, I don't think he would. But I've been wrong before. Surprisingly enough, I've been wrong before. So we're about to get into, football. So preseason and the regular season are coming up here soon. You guys may have seen or watched the preseason game and looked at the kickoff and was very confused as to what's going on here. Well, I wanted to shed some light on that for you. I know in my first episode I talked about the new rule changes, and this was one of them. So it's a new dynamic kickoff rule that's going into action for the season, trying to see how well it works. And it's just to help the return because kickoffs have been utterly boring. I mean, Cordell Patterson, Devin Hester, those are few. Jacoby Jones, my boy. Those guys were guys that, yes, you would have to kick a touchback to because you were too scared of them kick returning it. But nowadays, there's very few kickoff returns. There's very few returns at all. And so they kind of adopted it from the model they used in the XFL. And so they talk about the return rate and the return average. And so the XFL had 97% return rate. So it makes every down exciting. It makes the kickoffs more exciting because you never know. And especially with this dynamic aspect to it, it's like lining up on a line of scrimmage. You line up on the line of scrimmage on defense and offense. You have your kickers in the back, and you have, your kick returners in the back, and then you have your kicker kick the ball. And it will show who is doing well blocking their assignments, who ends up making the big plays, because it definitely will show. Special teams is something that is definitely going to be shown as a vital part of the game, or it's going to hinder a lot of teams. And there's a good couple of teams that, this could benefit for. Whoever has Cordell Patterson is going to do well. I think he's on the Steelers. I believe he's on the Steelers, but even so, I'm not too scared. We have Justin Tucker, so he'll just kick it out of the end zone probably. So, still a lot of stuff to go over with this, within this kickoff rule and what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to also make it a little bit better on the players, and I somewhat understand why, because they're a lot closer to the kick returners to where they're not gaining as much speed to pretty much just knock the crap out of them. So it'll limit harder hits, causing less injuries. But this also is going to affect touchbacks. This is going to affect kickers immensely, because do you use your kicker and hope and pray to God that he doesn't get injured trying to tackle, trying to be a part of the play? Or do you get someone like a safety and have them kick because you know that they've played this kind of coverage before? So that'll be something that'll be twisted within preseason. You'll kind of see, but then more towards regular season, they'll kind of get a bigger feel of it all. I'm very excited to see it. I want to see if it works. I want to see if it's something that the game maybe needs, because the game's got to be a little more interesting. Whatever you can do to spice it up, because hitting's not what it used to be. It's very soft hitting now. You can't hit them here. You can't hit them there. You can't, you have a limited spot to hit people, to where the refs have too much power in this game of flags. Some people can get hit in the head. Some people can't. No. The game should be put into the players' hands. The best players are the ones that should make the game or break the game, not the refs, because then you're complaining. There's been too many games, and too many very important games, that have come down to the refs. Last season was a huge wake-up call for a lot of people, saying that the refs dictate too much of the game. They dictate wins and losses that shouldn't be. If you take it out of the refs' hands, last season goes completely different for everybody. So, very interested to see what happens this year with the new kickoff rule and with the new rules in place to hopefully limit what the refs can do, because it's fun to watch the games, but it's getting very tiring to hear my team lost because of refs. And normally, sometimes that's true. There's a couple plays here and there that actually did cost your team the game, but the last play should never come down to the refs, whether to call it, whether not to call it. So That's something that the NFL is trying to limit, which I agree with. Now on to our next NFL topic. We don't have too much on the NFL docket today because there a lot of players right now are still in their contract extensions, still trying to work on those while getting into preseason. And so trying to wait until there's more bigger news going on, if there's new preseason acquisitions. I know there's a lot of still big name free agents that are still waiting in the wind that can make huge differences, which we'll go over with the Ravens because, why not? If I can talk about who the Ravens should be getting to bolster the team, I'm going to do it. If you know me, the people that have, listened, that I'm all about bolstering our roster wherever we can, hindering our weaknesses. So I know that there's going to be a good amount talking about receivers, but that's for a little later. I won't spoil anything for you guys, but next topic is we're actually going to go over the NFL Top 100. They just released this and just released the top 10 on Friday, August 2nd. Don't worry, we're not going to go over all 100. We're just going to go over the top 20. It's going to be quite fast. I'm hoping to not bore you too much for the people that, it's just a ranking. It's hard to rank what a quarterback can do versus what a defensive end can do, but I figured we'd go over it and see some players that, are well deserving, or, those players should be pushed a little farther back. So at number 20 is CJ Stroud. To me, he's definitely a top 20 player. I mean, man's played very well when he was there, efficient with the 23 touchdown, 5 interception ratio. Very well done. Won his playoff game. Played really well against the Browns. Won Offensive Rookie of the Year. That's not a shock. But how he carried himself, he looked very poised. He made smart decisions. Yeah, of course he's a rookie. He's going to have those errors, but he looked a lot better. And the team that surrounded him looked really well, and they've only gotten better. So to me, CJ Stroud is going to end up at 20 here this season, but next season I expect maybe top 10, but we'll see. 19 is Roquan Smith. He moved up 5 spots from last year. I think that he should definitely move up a lot higher on this list. Fred Warner's 11, so I think he should be a lot closer because Roquan Smith played the best. And in my opinion, the main reason that Patrick Queen is as good as he is because he was working with Roquan. Roquan taught him. He mentored him. And Patrick Queen, you can say what you want. I've given you the respect you deserve, but we're going to talk a little later about Patrick Queen because he took some jabs at the Ravens. But Patrick Queen was very underperforming. We trade to get Roquan, and he has made our defense a lot better. Patrick Queen is all pro because he's playing alongside Roquan Smith. Because you're so focused on him, you don't really focus on Patrick Queen. So, Patrick Queen, you can say what you want, but Roquan helped you become the man you are. Okay, you were not in MLB1. You were about to get cut from our team until we got Roquan, and then you started playing a lot better because you were playing under his wing. But back to Roquan Smith. Number 19, I'd say he's at. I'd put him at 13, maybe 14 on this list because he was a pest. I mean, he very, very good at blitz, but he's very good in pass coverage. Him and Fred Warner, I mean, they're neck and neck. I give a little more edge to Fred Warner, but man, he killed it. He's the next Ray Lewis for our team. And I really think that going forward, he's going to be that main guy for years to come. to where if we're going to win a championship, this guy needs to produce. And he produced last season. I think he's going to produce this season. He's helped mentor the linebackers to help out. I think Simpson's going to have a great year because Smith is a very good mentor, a very good person to want to play for. So, number 19, at least he's top 20, but I think he's a little higher. Justin Jefferson, number 18. Now, obviously, he got injured, so this is exactly why he's a little more. He's decreased a little bit. He still is one of the best receivers in the game. He's just a mismatch everywhere he goes. The speed, the height, just route running ability. He's good at that. But I think he went down. He went down from 16 to 18 because he was injured last season. So still think this is a decent position. He'll probably go top 10 next season. Micah Parsons was 8. Now he's 17. I believe this comes from his double team. And I think it's just the Cowboys in general. I think that him playing for the Cowboys and them being always on TV, it shows that, he's getting double teamed a lot more to where he's not getting those sacks. The numbers aren't as good because he's getting rushed all the dang time. He produced his career high in sacks, which is great. I think it's just because he's getting so many double teams that he's not getting it as much as the other pass rushers. So 17, I think he's going to look at this list and look at 17 and go, okay, I'm going to make top 10 next year. That's going to fuel his fire. Number 16 is Dak. Okay. I don't see Dak in the top 20. Very good quarterback, but main reason that he was a great quarterback last year is because of number 13, CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion. I liked Dak coming out of college. I still think he's really good. I think Cowboys are doing him dirty right now, and in all honesty, I think Dak Prescott's years are coming to an end with the Cowboys. Number 15 is Jalen Hurts. Now, actually, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was a little too hasty with Dak. Dak should be at 15. Jalen Hurts should not even be top 30. Jalen Hurts is a rushing quarterback. That is it. He had the tush push. He did not pass well. You talk about it. He did decently like he's normally done, but he did not help his team at all this year. You have AJ Brown, you have Devontae Smith. You had a decent running game. You have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and you guys couldn't play well at all. You guys couldn't even score touchdowns. And talks about how he's very good with the deep passing touchdowns. Yeah, it's very easy when Brown and Devontae can just jump over everyone. So, yeah, he went from 12 to 15. I think he should have went 12 to 30. So, definitely don't think he's top 20 material. George Kittle at 14. He played really well. I don't really have much else to say. Kittle's Kittle. Kittle's always going to be a dynamic 49er. He does it all. Blocking, catching. He's just a dual threat on that front. So, no comments there. CeeDee Lamb at 13. CeeDee Lamb, he was 21. Now he's 13. I believe that. CeeDee Lamb has had a great year. He just keeps improving every year. I think that's why Dak's a little higher on that list. But, man, he played immensely well this last season. And it could stay the same, could not. I don't know. The Cowboys are always one of those teams that you never know, but when it comes to the playoffs, they are great in the regular season. You get them in the playoffs, they're like the Panthers. They don't know how to win. They don't know how to play. So, but CeeDee Lamb at 13 is good. Josh Allen was very surprising. He dropped down 4 spots to 12th. And so he's a tough quarterback. He played well at kind of here and there, but his biggest thing is his interceptions. He throws really well. He can rush really well. It's just last season they were very weird. They had a weird vibe to them because towards the end, Diggs was never even touching the ball. And they were somewhat here and there, and then in the playoffs, they didn't look the same. So definitely some team to watch out for this year because they're expected to make the playoffs, but I doubt that. Fred Warner at 11, going to be top 10 next year. I don't need to say anything else. He's the best middle linebacker in the game. Roquan's right there at 2, and there's a huge gap between 2 and 3. So, and Patrick Queen is not even in the top 10. So I don't want to hear it from Patrick Queen. Now, number 10, Matt Crosby. Great season from him. I wish he wasn't a Raider. I wish he'd come play for a better team that would give him playoff hopes, the Ravens. But Pro Bowler, notched 14.5 sacks. I really thought that he was going to, if he would have continued up on his pace, I definitely think he could have won Defensive Player of the Year. But you know who it normally always goes to between the two. He has tough competition in that category. But yeah, him being top 10 is well deserved. Travis Kelce he dropped down 4 spots to number 9. I mean, that's not shocking. He's a great tight end. Don't get me wrong. But last season, he kind of just was there, and we all know. You take out Kelce, Mahomes has nothing. They're nothing, So we didn't have Mark Andrews last year, and we still were a really hot weapon, But Travis Kelce is their most valuable player. Mahomes is a great quarterback, but he doesn't have the weapons other than Kelce, and that's why they struggled last year. And then they got in through a little luck, and obviously they're the Super Bowl champs. Barring definitely some hidden agendas, but that's over and done with. So, but yeah, number 9, he'll still be a top 10 player next year too, and until he retires. He's one of those dudes. Now, number 8 was TJ Watt. He moved up 19 spots. I am kind of shocked he was not top 10 the year before, but it is what it is on that front. I think it's tough for me on this because I think he should be higher than Myles Garrett. The main reason I think Myles Garrett got it was because he got Defensive Player of the Year, which, I mean, TJ Watt had 19 sacks. He did it all. He had 4 forced fumbles, 1 interception. He was robbed of Defensive Player of the Year. I am a Ravens fan. Let me repeat that. I am a Ravens fan. Every time TJ Watt was on that field, I was intimidated. I was scared because he's very good, not only sacking the quarterback, but forcing bad things to happen. Myles Garrett was not that as big of a threat to my team as TJ Watt was. So I thought he was robbed. You guys want to check stats, whatever. If you watch the games, you can clearly tell who it was, who should have been Defensive Player of the Year. It's not like this is a controversy I'm just now bringing up. Like, this is my hot take. This is something that was talked about when the award came out. So TJ Watt at 8. I think he should be at 5, and Myles Garrett should be at 8. Spoiler alert, Myles Garrett is at 8. Is at 5, sorry. Mixing up my numbers here. Trent Williams, like I've told you and many times, man's still the best lineman ever. So him at number 7, moved up 7 spots. Yeah, deservingly so. Chris Jones, the main reason besides some of the corners on Kansas City that helped them win. Yeah, he moved up 4 spots to 6. Well deserved. Played really well. He's definitely a huge defensive presence for Kansas City. Number 5 is Myles Garrett. Like I said, I mean, he had 14 sacks. It's just, it's tough. Because if you look at his numbers compared to TJ Watt wins. When it came down to when they played tough teams, like the Ravens, and I'm not going to roast my Ravens here, but I'm just going to show you. We lost to the Steelers. We didn't lose to the Browns. We did lose to the Browns one time, but that was because, Deshaun Watson came out and threw, and then the next game he was out for the season. So I'm pretty sure they put some like steroid or something in his arm to where he could, really throw the ball real well. But the defense didn't help them in that game. The offense did. The defense for Steelers kept them in that game both times when they won. So, you want to say numbers? Okay, fine. You want to talk presence? Yeah, it's TJ Watt. So TJ Watt 5, Myles Garrett 8. Patrick Mahomes at 4 was shocking to me. I still think he's top 3, and Tyreek Hill at number 1 should have been 4. Tyreek Hill's great, but he's not. It's I don't know. That's a tough question to ask because it's all about value. I mean, Patrick Mahomes did not play well, so yes, I guess him at 4 makes sense. Tossed a career high in interceptions. He wasn't there this season. Obviously, he won the Super Bowl. We all know why. Number 3, CMC. Not shocking. The main guy for San Fran. Yes, there's Debo. Debo's second. McCaffrey does it all. Receiving running back, elusive running back. He can even truck people if he wants to. And he sees it so well. He's a threat anywhere on the field. Now, number 2, obviously, is Lamar Jackson. He won his second MVP. He played really well. And he didn't do it with his legs. Yes, of course, he does it with his legs a little bit, but that's not what won him the award. That's not what made him be number 2. It was his passing, the thing he's been most criticized for. I was there too. As a quarterback, I was like, he's not seeing certain reads. He's missing some guys. He's throwing balls he shouldn't. His passing acclimate was not that great. But this year, he showed us up. And I'm so very proud of him. We didn't win the Super Bowl this year, last year, but this year, even better of a chance because he's even more hungry. He needs to prove the doubters wrong. All he wants is a championship. He doesn't care about MVPs anymore. He's won 2. He wants the Super Bowl. And I think he can do it. So very excited to see what he does this season. And obviously number 1 is Tyreek Hill. He's the cheetah. He's still tops receiver. So yeah, that's it for, the top 100, top 20 of those. It's very tough to say who should be number 1, who shouldn't, but I think the orders are very well done. The most value out of their team last season was Tyreek for the Dolphins, Lamar Jackson, and CMC was the anchor for the 49ers. Patrick Mahomes just didn't have a great year. That's why they were almost missing playoffs at one point. So that's why on that. But all right, that is it for the news around the NFL. Now we head on to the main course, the Baltimore Ravens. All right, on to some Ravens news. We're going to talk about some free agent signings we should sign before training camp. Are you shocked about that? You shouldn't be, because I almost talk about it every episode. Because I think there's some holes we can fill and not break the bank for them. These are 1-year contracts. Hey, do you want to win a Super Bowl? Here you go. First on the list, Yannick Ngakoue. We had him on our team. He did really well when he played for us. I think he's someone who can help get to the quarterback, but we'll see on that. It's just getting to the quarterback is the main objective. We have great linebackers, we have great corners, we have great secondary. We need people to get to the quarterbacks this year, because if we don't, we're kind of screwed on that. Carl Lawson he was a former Jet. He had some tough parts, but he's a good pass rusher. I mean, we need pass rushing, and that's kind of where these free agent signings are going. Talked about Dalvin Cook. He'd be good. I mean, he's already, him and Latavius Murray are on this list. Both of them have played for our team. They know how our team works. They're good, solid backs to have in case of a backup. Because, again, Derrick Henry goes out, at least we have good backups. I mean, Dalvin Cook was a freaking Pro Bowler. He was a great running back. He led a bunch in his day. It's not like he's, his clock's run out. He played really well. He just was released and never got the chance. In Baltimore, he played pretty well when he got his chances. So I'd bring him back. Latavius Murray is another big back that would be really well for us. I don't want Kareem Hunt. I'm just letting everyone know I don't want Kareem Hunt. I don't like him as a person. Yes, he's a good running back, but I don't like him, don't need him. We're good. Jared McKinnon, he could be good. I mean, he does really well. He did really well for the Kansas City, but he's a good receiving running back, which we may or may not need. I don't know how much they're going to use Derrick Henry in that aspect, but we'll see. Could be another one. Hunter Renfrow. Get him. He's a great slot guy. If you want to have the deep threat of Zay Flowers, you could put Hunter Renfrow in the slot because he's dangerous in the slot when he has the correct quarterback. Get him. Yes, he has had no interest in the free agency market, but he is so good in the slot. He is second to Keenan Allen in the slot. It's just how it is. Mason Cole, O-lineman, can play center and guard. Another good way to bolster the offensive line, just in case for injuries. We have somebody who's decent that can hold up his end. And last but not least is Hassan Ridgeway, defensive tackle. Always good to put next to Pierce and some of our other good DTs, but I'm not really sure on the last one. Don't really think we need defensive tackles. It's more defensive ends to rush quarterback, bolster line and running back, and then get Hunter Renfrow for the slot so that Zay Flowers can just torch the corners and the safeties. So our next topic is, I talked about this before, was Patrick Queen and Deshaun Elliott taking jabs. They're both the Steelers now. They're taking jabs at Ravens, saying, about our city, about the team itself and whatnot. I think they're just poking fun and having fun, but it's okay. You can talk. I mean, Deshaun Elliott got drafted by us, and obviously he wasn't fit enough to make our team. He went to the Eagles, and then he went to and now he's on the Steelers. And he's looking to become relevant again. So, take all the jabs you want. You haven't been able to prove it on the field, have you? So, don't need to pay him any mind. Patrick Queen just wanting to take jabs. He's trying to take over the villain role because he needs to have something of an edge against the Ravens because he knows what we bring on the offensive, defensive end. The Steelers are a great team. They have Mike Tomlin, one of the greatest coaches. Their defense is really good. Their offense is still ass. So, we'll see. We'll see. Patrick Queen can talk all he wants until he shows us that he can play by himself as the middle linebacker 1. Then he can talk. You can talk all you want on Twitter. If you can't produce in the game, you gonna hear about it. You produced last season because you were middle linebacker 2. You were not Roquan Smith. You have big shoes to fill if you want to be that guy. So maybe Take a chill pill on dissing on us. I know maybe it's just all playful. If it's all playful, then fine. Okay, cool. If you're trying to take jabs and want the villain role, that's fine. It's okay. You want to keep adding to what's going to happen. Our team will take care of business like we always do. We have not been the best against the Steelers. But I believe this season is something of a miracle season for us. And I'm very excited to see what happens because we have a lot of vendettas. We have a lot of revenge games we need against the Steelers, against the Bengals, and between anyone and whoever is watching this, if you are a Steeler and a Bengals fan, I do not hate your teams. I know that there's normally a rivalry between the Ravens and the Steelers. I like that rivalry. I think it's very fun. It's very spirited. The Bengals, it's very fun. It's very spirited. Now, if you're a Browns fan, I don't like your team. Not because you're any good, but because of the people you keep on your team. Kareem Hunt was one of them. You got rid of him. Deshaun Watson, no. Don't like him. Don't think he's great. You overpaid it, and now you've made Houston better than you. It's a huge thing I laugh about all the time. And then they whooped your ass in the playoff game with the people that you gave them for Deshaun Watson. Oh, it's just priceless. D'Amico Ryan, Houston Texans, hats off to you. Browns, everyone in our division hates you because of the culture and what you bring onto your teams and the controversies you bring. So just want to throw that out there. It's all much love and respect to the Steelers and the Bengals. Like I like those teams, like as much as you can from a rival team. I have zero respect for the Browns and their organization. So, many different other things, glad Baker's out of there, glad he's off winning in Tampa Bay while you guys are, still trying to figure out who's actually going to play quarterback and is your quarterback, even going to live up to all the money you're paying him. So, but if the back to the conversation at hand, if the jabs are playful, awesome. If they aren't, we'll see you when we play you guys. Just know that you've added more fuel to the fire for our team. So, but very excited for this season. Very excited to see how Pittsburgh does as well with 2 new quarterbacks. Who's going to start? All right. Be that as it may, all that's done. We're going to go and talk about the Ravens' top 100 players and where they stand. They're not the top 100, but it's the people that made the top NFL top 100. We're going to talk about those. All right, 5 of them made the top 100. I think that's a little low on some aspects, but it's okay. Number 2 was obviously Lamar. That's not shocking. Roquan Smith should have been higher. Kyle Hamilton should have been higher. Derrick Henry, I'm kind of glad that he fell off. So, sorry, I think I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you what their positions are. Roquan Smith was 19. Kyle Hamilton's 43. Derrick Henry is 49. And Justin Madubuike is 61. I think Kyle Hamilton should at least been top 30. He played like it. He was second best safety in the game. Derrick Henry, I'm kind of glad he's 49. Like he's kind of a falling off category because it's just added more motivation for him because he's heard the talks. He's getting old. You're not that good. You're playing for a new team. You're not going to gel well. I think it's just adding more fuel to him that I'm very excited to see what they do. We need to run the ball more, but effectively. Because our pass game is going to be, we do not want to rely on the pass game. We want to rely on the run game to where we can set up our pass. Justin Madubuike at 61 should have been top 50. He was, Chris Jones, maybe forgetting some others, but Justin Madubuike had his best season, and he is He's been dubbed the baby Aaron Donald. So can you really say that he isn't? So obviously very biased, wanting my Ravens to be a little higher, but how they played last season, these were great players that deserved higher knocks for what they did. And, maybe it'll fuel them to get higher next season, hopefully when we win the Super Bowl. But we'll see. So as the clock winds down on another great episode, I want to thank you all for listening. I know that I don't have a specific schedule like I've been talking about recently, but I think I'm getting a little better. I'm starting to schedule them, kind of do them a little ahead of time so that you know when they're coming out so you can listen. But I will always make sure to post something on my podcast Instagram page to let you know my episode's up. Remember, again, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube is where you can stream these. If you need any help, links are in them, or just go on Instagram and type in my podcast. You'll find all the links. Please make sure to like and subscribe on whatever platform you prefer. Feel free to comment or ask any question that you want me to talk about. If there's something you want me to address in the comments, not only about the Ravens, if you have a specific team you want me to talk about or a specific issue, love to go over those, love to unpack those for you, and maybe even give you a shout out on my next episode of my podcast. Also, all the music and sound is provided by my brother-in-law, Justin. So thank you, Justin, for that. Well, Ravens Nation, thanks for joining me on this episode. Until next time, stay fierce, stay loyal, and keep rooting for that purple black. I will see you next time on The Ravens Call.